I'm so excited to have JC Cadet from Atlanta Ventures on the show. She is the VP of marketing there, as well as an advisor at Atlanta Tech Village, where she works with tons of successful entrepreneurs and knows what it takes to balance business growth and personal well-being. I'm really excited for y'all to hear this conversation. I think you'll get some insights, and I think her perspective is really unique because of the number of entrepreneurs she works with on a day-to-day basis. All right, let's get into it. JC, thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure.
We're having so much fun on this podcast, and you're going to bring such an interesting perspective because you work with entrepreneurs all the time. We have entrepreneurs on the show. We have investors on the show, and then we have people who are in the entrepreneurial community and embracing and supporting the entrepreneurial lifestyle. And so that's what this podcast is really about, is just like learning how you embrace the craziness of what we do, right? And so first and foremost, just why in the world do you work with entrepreneurs? Like, you chose to do this, Why do you do it? What's your why?
Yeah, well, again, I would say hands down, I just love doing it.
Yeah.
I like helping people. I think it's in my blood. I like to serve. I've always been kind of a servant. Girl Scouts back in the day.
I get it. I did Boy Scouts. Yeah,
you got it. It's
absolutely.
in your blood, right? And
Yeah.
I used to run a nonprofit organization where we did volunteering. So I think it's just part of my DNA. And the fact, I'm super fortunate to work at Atlanta Ventures, and they have the same kind of motif. They just believe the same thing. So I'm fortunate to get to be able to do a lot of the things that we do for a large number. Again, I'm biased, but I hope that we reach quite a few people with the things that we do, whether it be free tools, resources, etc. I get to do it, and I'm fortunate to do.
Yeah, quick plug for those of you listening. Check out Atlanta Ventures if you're not familiar. They are integral part of the Atlanta Tech Village. We're sitting here recording in the Atlanta Tech Village, actually in the Atlanta Ventures studio.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Of course.
They are amazing champions for the entrepreneurial community here in Atlanta and beyond, and the entrepreneurial lifestyle that we're really exploring. You guys are champions of it. You really are. And so, but part of the entrepreneurial lifestyle is risk reward.
Sure.
And for you personally, in deciding to, dive into this entrepreneurial community, what risks and rewards did you have to weigh, to say, yeah, this fits who I am. I am a part of the entrepreneurial community.
Yeah, so again, I've been in this for 7 years, so I feel like I took the risk back then. Right now, I'm in it, and I'm fortunate.
Now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, it probably would have been a career transition. So I was in a design field. I started my own company and decided that starting my own company was not for me. I was solo. It's hard, right? So I get that solo life.
Yeah.
I decided I didn't want to do it anymore, and so I shut everything down. Started looking for full-time work.
That's bold.
And it was. I thought, and here's the thing. I'll tell everybody, I now still run a couple of companies on the side. Who doesn't? Always side hustle. But at the time, I was like, just because you can run a company doesn't mean you should.
That's right.
And so I stopped, and in all of my network, I was very intentional about what I wanted to do, who I wanted to do it for, right? I had non-negotiables, and that was it. I was like, well, you got to make the move. This current path that I'm on, what I was doing solo was, especially, I'm a big community builder. I love people.
You definitely are.
I don't do things by myself, right? And so I needed to be with that, and my company at the time wasn't that.
Yeah.
So I found it, and I think obviously it was a risk doing that, shutting things down. But when we talk about reward, it's endless. Right now, I've been afforded the opportunity to do so many things through Atlanta Ventures and through the things, right? Running pitch practice, being out of the village, it doesn't even compare. So it was a risk, right, to stop and make this transition. And I was already being an entrepreneur. I was already doing it.
You started a business.
Right. And I have since helped start or launch think about like 25 right now.
Good
Don't
Lord.
quote me on it. I need
That's
to go back.
amazing.
Yeah.
Come on
But
now.
I thankfully have a little bit of a, I don't know if you say like safety net, perhaps,
Sure.
right? Because I now have a full time here where I get to support those people doing those things.
Right.
But yeah, the risk, the reward, worth it.
Well, that's why I was so excited about having you on, because you bring that perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are, very central in this Atlanta entrepreneurial community and have been an entrepreneur, but you also, support entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
But the entrepreneurial lifestyle is crazy.
Yeah.
And it knows no bounds.
Correct.
You mentioned earlier, having your non-negotiables, and I wonder if that's a way that you keep balance. How do you keep balance in your life, and what does balance look like to you? Because it's not, the same for everyone.
Sure. Yeah. I once had it, I don't know if I came up with this, so I can't claim that, but I usually describe it as like a work-life rhythm.
Yes.
As opposed to balance, because I don't think it really is balanced ever, right? We have ebb and flows, and there's been seasons where you work a lot more than you do other seasons, or you are putting more effort in, or some things clients are coming in, and you're feeling like you're at a high versus really at the grind, right? And so I think from an entrepreneurship perspective, or even from me personally, I think for me, scheduling is helpful, right? Like, how do I keep that rhythm, right? I say rhythm because sometimes I'm very scheduled, I'm very rigid, and other times I schedule free time.
Yes.
For me, right? Like, again, other people, you can
Absolutely.
do what you choose, but I like to block time, like even for lunch, right? Some people just are like grinding, but I think it's important to maintain, like, how are you keeping healthy from a physical perspective, right? So scheduling workouts, scheduling time to be with friends, right?
Yeah.
Like, but to be with your family.
It's soul filling,
I don't schedule all my family time. Don't think that.
No, but
I'm
I
off,
get
right?
you.
Like, I'm scheduled. Like, I'm
It's
off.
like, this is my time, and what I choose to do with it is my business, but I choose to have a portion of it fill my soul.
Yeah. So I think, and there's, again, it ebb and flows, right? There's seasons where I'm more scheduled, like a lot more things, and then other times I'm scheduling a 4-hour block to just be creative. You can't always do it.
No.
Right? But I think that there's this rhythm that you can flow through, and my calendar tends to keep me in a flexible spot, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. I mean, I think you have to figure out what's important to you, but also what's important as far as your deliverables, what you're working towards, what you've committed to others, whether it's family or work, and get that in rhythm, get all of that aligned. Alignment is another word people use, but I like rhythm better than balance, because balance, I see a seesaw, and it's really like this,
right?
Which is not really comfortable,
But sometimes you can have like music or grooving, right? Like this rhythm.
If there can be a little bit more of a groove, I almost think of like a reggae tune or something, where there's just like, you're just moving a little bit and you're in flow, I find that's when we're at our best, or at least when I'm in some kind of flow. But inevitably, life really has a way of pulling us out of that flow, out of that balance, out of that rhythm, and something hits the fan, right?
Always.
How do you get back to that rhythm? Is there, are there mantras, or are there things that you lean on heavily to get yourself back to that space where you're at your best?
Yeah, I would say there's probably it's my community, right? That I lean on. I'm a big fan of community, right? I have a solid support system. So usually what would happen is, say I'm stressed or I'm experiencing extreme lows or something, which everyone does, right? And your low is relative, right? So my low could be here, someone's low could be here. But I think having a supportive community, whether that be my team's amazing.
Yeah,
they're fantastic.
They are.
I'm biased, but I'm also not. Okay.
Yeah,
they're fantastic.
I get it.
So whether we're encountering something with a entrepreneur, something where there's tension, like they're there to discuss
Yeah.
it. Same with obviously my family community and then my family community, right? Because they're all here.
Family? Okay.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, I'm into that.
I'm super blessed with a lot of good friends.
Yeah.
And they're basically family because
Sure.
I'm not from here originally. And so they keep you grounded, right? They build you
Yes.
up. Oftentimes, like, we can believe lies about, especially as a female, but like everyone as a founder,
Oh, yeah.
they're probably like, oh, I'm not doing this right. You lose a deal, you lose a client. It's terrible. Right?
It's awful, and is I'm a big quote guy. That quote, comparison is the thief of all joy. I think it was Roosevelt, maybe.
Sure.
Sure.
No
It's
idea.
Roosevelt. Y'all can correct me
don't know.
in the comments down there, but it's true.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I have to severely limit my social media exposure, because
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
not
you're-
one that compares myself. But if I'm watching everybody else's highlight reel, then all of a sudden, and I find myself just sinking a little bit, and I'm like, man, that is not healthy.
Right. And there's people in the world that are not always positive or they're not always, right? They're out for,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's everyone, but whether it's inside of us or not, I do think having supportive people to be around and say, oh, you know what? Let's forget them. Or, no, you're actually crushing it, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
this podcast is legit. If you're,
Hey, yeah.
if you're like, should I do it? You told me, again, out there and earlier,
Yeah.
I've been waiting. Like, yeah, you should do the podcast.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just do it.
And you got good people behind you.
I got great
to
people.
encourage you to just do it.
I'm very blessed. There are people behind the camera. Thank you for your support as well. Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
awesome, and
Community,
a lot of times,
right?
yeah, and somebody to give you that nudge. You mentioned a nudge earlier. I got it from my partners at Market Scale. They were like, "You're gonna be great. Just do it." And I'm like, maybe. And I'm having a blast, right? This is so fun to have these conversations and explore the entrepreneurial life and community. Not so much how to be an entrepreneur. There's plenty of resources out there for that, right?
Sure.
But I think it's important to talk about how we have the highs and lows, and how we have to have systems and people in place to do that.
Exactly.
One of the things I love most about this particular entrepreneurial community is the value of pay it forward, right?
Sure.
And I think, honestly, it sounds like in everything you do, you're paying it forward. But
Well,
like,
hopefully, I
what
don't
are the things that you intentionally seek out to pay it forward? And y'all, for if you're watching this and you're in Atlanta, she does pitch practice on Fridays where, if you want to come pitch an idea and learn how to do it in a way that, actually communicates the right way. You work with all these people doing that. You do a number of things here, but like, what else,
Sure, yeah. I mean, basically...
Not that that's not enough, but, like, what are you drawn to, I guess, that fills your soul to give
I do
back?
like pitch practice. I think I'm excited about it, right? So that's definitely one of
It's
them.
so fun.
I'm currently a mentor in a few other programs, right? At the Village, or there's Georgia State program right now. There's a Georgia Tech, like the students that are a little younger is relative, right? Because there are
sure
some
is.
older students, but I really enjoy, because I've been fortunate to be, I obviously have like the creative background, I have the storytelling background, and then I've got the startup in general, right? We've been here 7 years doing this, almost 8. Anyway,
It flies.
I'm like,
You
I am fortunate that if I can tell someone, if they're asking, right?
Yeah.
I love to. I don't try to always force it on people, but if they want advice or something, I'm happy to sit down and give time. And I think a lot of the people at Atlanta Ventures are all the same.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So I think it's just, if I can be a resource, or from like a mentorship perspective,
Mm-hmm.
or even, obviously I have areas of focus, but I think from
Sure.
a startup in general, I feel like I'm doing that and hope to continue. So
Yeah.
that, I think that's just my mantra is, or my give back space is, just be open. Anyone
Yeah.
can get my email, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I know everything or can be helpful in every way, but I might be able to know someone who can connect you. Right?
I was having a conversation this morning, and the interesting thing is the more experienced a person is, the more questions they ask.
That's true.
And I never really put that together until I was having a conversation this morning. And I was like, that's really interesting. That curiosity is actually what drives a lot of success. And, you know, I see it in some of the young people we've talked about. You know, I've made friends with a Georgia Tech student, that's asked me questions. And I love that curiosity. And I love this entrepreneur community because it's not just made up of founders, right? And that's the beautiful thing. Like, you're not a founder right now. You founded a company, but you're not a founder today. But you are like right next to the founders, and you are support structure, your encouragement, you're literally a place to start your business, you know, a building. And I think that's amazing to have this kind of community. And I've always been in and around it. I've been in Atlanta startups for, 15 years, but like even recently having more specific, space to mentor here and to do this podcast and everything and just be present, and one of my guests, we were talking about serendipity that happens, because you've got a lot of people who are really smart, who really enjoy solving problems in a space, and there's just something magic about it, right?
Agreed.
And
I think that was the vision of Atlanta Tech Village, right? Like, especially because we're here. But I think that has been Atlanta in general, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so. And this to me is really the hub. I mean, there are some other amazing resources for this community, entrepreneurial community in Atlanta, out of Georgia Tech, the HCDC. There's
Tech
a number of
Alpharetta. I mean, there's so many.
Techstars. There's a number of
Rice. They're all there.
But to me, ATV is kind of the hub, and it's
simply
awesome.
Because we're here, right? Like, I think, I don't know if you are familiar, but there was like a hub tour a long time this week that the Metro Atlanta Chamber connected with, like all the 6 big hubs in Atlanta.
Cool.
It was amazing.
I saw the tour coming through.
Yeah.
I was in the building, but I didn't know what it was.
It was amazing. I think Atlanta does a good job of connecting good hubs all over Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
It's just been really cool to see. I mean, obviously, we love Atlanta Tech Village, right?
Sure.
But there are so many good spots that community is just like at the forefront and helping entrepreneurs be the best them.
Yeah, I see a lot of healthy competition, but I also see support, and also some of the programs are getting very focused on what they do well, which I think is really healthy, right? Because if you are this kind of entrepreneur, then maybe that program is better for you, or if you're this kind of entrepreneur, another program. And I think that's amazing. Well, I love being part of this community. The joy that comes off your face just as being part of this community is amazing. I'll finish with this. Like, what is something in just like this entrepreneurial community that you're really excited about?
I'm just excited for people who are driven to start doing those things.
Yeah.
I mean,
just start doing
it. Right. Like every year there's 1,000 things happening. So that makes me excited.
Yeah.
I can't even say like, sure, AI, right? Sure, there's things, but like people.
It's already changing
reinventing
our world,
payment systems.
Yeah.
It's going to happen again.
Sure.
Right? Like it will. So
that
gets me excited.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today and jumping in on my my new podcast.
Sure.
And
excited too.
Yeah. Thank you for your support.
Of course. Glad to be here.
Thank you again for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. I know I did. Special thanks to my friends at MarketScale for making this podcast happen. Thank you to my team for working tirelessly behind the scenes to help make this podcast happen. Thank you to my co-writers, Christian Hale and Brandon Ray, who helped me compose the theme song to Growthwell. Check out their music on Apple Music and Spotify or wherever you get digital music. And until next time, I hope you do growth well.